Monica, I thought you were going to give us a whole bunch of talk today with Todd.
How much of what? Oh, she's muted.
I know.
Oh, you want me to talk?
No,
I mean, that's really easy for me. No, I'm really excited you're doing this. Perfect timing, right? That I
know, and it's been raining. I'm looking out the window and I thought, oh, by the Memorial Day it'll be so hot, and Todd will have perfect timing.
Yes, we were talking about that. As soon as this stops, oh, it's going to be miserable and humid. I think the actuals are in the 90s for the latter half of this week. So
yeah, I think we're just going to go straight from spring to killer heat.
Yes, absolutely. So perfect timing for this, even though it doesn't feel like it with this rain.
I know.
I think at least we'll welcome the sunshine, right? Everybody's kind of ready for some sunshine, and that heat's just going to slap us all in the face. But yes,
thank you all for helping getting this together. I know it's a lot of work, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Jennifer's awesome. And thank you so much, Todd.
Yeah, thank you, Todd, for your willingness to give us your expertise today. We are very excited to have you.
No problem. Thanks.
Okay, so we are going to get started, and we are going to kick off here. As most of you know, Blakeman has been offering these webinars monthly and free to our clients and whoever wants to join us. And we are excited because this month we have, just in time for the summer heat. I know it's been raining in Texas and Oklahoma and Louisiana, but we are, as Monica and I were just talking about, the heat is going to hit us hard this weekend. Just in time for the heat, we have a heat expert, hydration expert, Todd Worley. He's been in the industry for just a few years, right, Todd? Yeah. And he's here to share his expertise with us. He has great slides, a lot of information for you. We have collateral that we're going to send you after the webinar that you can look and refer back to. So take some notes, but don't stress. We'll send you some reminders and things. Also, this is being recorded, so you can refer back to it on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. We have Monica with us from Coastal Ice, and she is amazing for us and does so much for our community. She's provided a fun giveaway today as well. And then we have Lee Salazar, who is remaining, I don't know what you would call it, incognito today, but he's joining us, and he's the CEO of Blakeman. And again, a wealth of information for you with heat stress, OSHA requirements, just a wealth of knowledge in this industry as well. So I'm going to kick it off, give it to Todd. Todd's got slides to share, and let's get going today, Todd.
All right, I will grab the screen and share. And let's start right there. How's that look?
That's great.
Okay, so let's start heat stress prevention, but then dehydration is going to be a part of that. And as we were talking a while ago, May has been one of the coolest and wettest that I can recall. And by the end of the week, we're going to be in the 90s, and we're going to have a holiday, and we're going to have employees that are going to come back after the holiday, and it's going to be hot. And we'll talk about some of the things that you may encounter come Tuesday after the holiday with regards to diuretics and whatnot as we get going. What did you? Okay. So the difference between an athlete and an industrial athlete, which is typically who I'm dealing with, is the industrial athlete. Athletes have good nutrition, they have nutritionists, they have trainers that are taking care of them, oftentimes younger. The industrial athlete, on the other hand, we oftentimes don't watch our diets very well, typically older. Diuretics like coffee, tea, even alcohol as a diuretic are common issues, and medical preconditions. We'll go into a lot of detail on medical preconditions and how it affects hydration and heat as we get into these warmer weeks and months. First and foremost, primary thing that we've got to have is water. 60% of the human body, up to 70% of the human body is made up of fluid, primarily water. However, it has to have electrolytes in it in order for it to properly function inside of our system. So what does water or electrolytic fluid do for us? It flushes toxins out of our body. It carries good things to our muscles. You can kind of consider electrolytic fluid or water as oil for the muscles. It aids in regulating body temperature by perspiration, sweating. We lose this water by perspiring, through breathing, going to the restroom. So just common functions of the body, we have to continually replenish water and electrolytes into our system so that we maintain that 60 to 70% of fluid inside our body. Otherwise, bad things start happening. Typically, if I'm in a group out and not on a Zoom meeting, I'll ask the question as to how did 75% of you arrive at work today? And I generally will get the answer in my truck or car or however, but that's incorrect. 75% of the United States came to work today dehydrated already. These are numbers that I will be pulling from the Mayo Clinic, from OSHA. Anytime that I post a number like this is from a third party that's a reputable third party. So if that's the case, if 75% of the population is chronically dehydrated, then what do we need to do about it? We talked a while ago, we're going to, just by daily function, going to work, even if it's in an office, just by breathing and perspiring and going to the restroom, we're going to lose water throughout the day. The average man should have 15.5 cups per day. This is from the Mayo Clinic. Average woman, 11 to 12 cups per day. That's equivalent to 6 to 8 bottles a day. Now, understand that this is an average. These are people that are just going about the daily work. If we're in a construction or in a hot environment in the industrial world, then this number goes up significantly. OSHA's recommendations, and you can download this, or I've got the 2014 version of NIOSH's equivalent to that, states that in a high heat environment, the employee should consume 1 cup, 6 to 8 ounces, every 15 to 20 minutes. It states there when hazard is present. Hazard is heat. So if we're in an industrial construction atmosphere, it's going to be hot next week. And so we need to consume the equivalent of 1 cup every 15 to 20 minutes. Now, understanding you've got to get work done. We have to be productive. So take that into consideration. That's time and a half again of the average that we spoke of a while ago that's coming from the Mayo Clinic. Pre-existing medical conditions are a significant issue when we're talking about hydration and heat and how heat affects our body. The average worker in the US today is 40 years old. Of that, the 11.3% of the population is diabetic. That affects how we absorb water into our bodies. 33% of the population is hypertensive or have high blood pressure. That also affects how fluid is absorbed into our body and which electrolytes are the best for us. This information comes from the CDC. Additional information with regards to diabetes, and I'll state, I don't have a slide on it, but there is a webpage called prediabetes.org that comes from the American Diabetes Association. In addition to these numbers that you see here for different parts of the population, 33% of the United States is pre-diabetic. So on average, about 11 to 12% of the population is diabetic. 33% is pre-diabetic. This information should say American Heart Association, not Diabetes Association. We're talking about blood pressure, hypertensive, 33% again of the population having high blood pressure, and how that affects us will be coming here in just a second. Okay. Sodium is a huge issue when we're talking about electrolytes. Sodium is one of the key and significant electrolytes when we're talking about that. However, 9 out of 10 people in the United States consume more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. I recently had to go to the doctor for my annual, and I have high blood pressure. And what my doctor told me to do is to watch my sodium intake. So if we're already consuming more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day, 9 out of 10 of us, then we need to watch that if we're going to use sodium as an electrolyte to help us absorb the fluid or the water into our system. So we all know that consuming too much sodium is dangerous. In addition to increasing blood pressure, it also affects our kidneys. Too much sodium in the diet really makes us prone, primarily men, to kidney stones. So another negative when it comes to too much sodium in the diet. Supplements are another issue. A lot of us take vitamin supplements, some other herbs. A lot of the sports drinks that are out there have additional supplements in them. Some things that are really popular right now are golden root, which is a stimulant, just trying to keep people awake. But all of the supplements always come with an adder to it that says you need to contact your doctor or nurse prior to taking that and putting that into your system. So we want to be very careful with regard to supplements in anything that we're consuming, whether it's non-hydration related or hydration related. Let's talk about electrolytes. Water in and of itself is not enough. We can drink water all day long if we don't have a good diet. And that's really the best way for us to get our electrolytes. But if we don't have a good diet, then we have to have a supplemental electrolyte, which is what we're talking about, sports drinks. That's where we get our supplemental electrolytes. The primary one that most everyone uses is sodium. I've beat that one to death. Sodium is an excellent electrolyte. Don't get me wrong on that. However, it has side effects of increasing blood pressure. So we need to take that into consideration. The other two, second most popular, would be potassium. Same thing that you're going to get in a spinach salad or a banana or cantaloupe. All those good things, strawberries that we're supposed to be eating, are high in potassium. And that's really the best way for us to consume and get our electrolytes is through the foods that we eat without the added salt. But a good fruits and vegetables to be consumed, like I mentioned a while ago. Spinach salads are great. Bananas are fantastic. All of these things, as we consume these throughout the day, are good ways to get electrolytes in our system so that the water is absorbed into our body. Now, electrolytes do two things. Electrolytes encapsulate water molecules and then absorb it, helps it to absorb into the body in the stomach and the small intestine before it gets down through our intestines. So it makes it absorb into the body more quickly, which is a good thing. The other thing it does is inside the body, electrolytes act really as conductors. They assist in the way the nerves and the brain communicates with the muscles. All of our body, including our heart, our lungs, et cetera, are muscles. So we want to have enough electrolytes in our system so that our brain is properly communicating with the rest of our body. That's why if you are dehydrated or anytime you've had to go to the emergency room or anything like that, the first thing that the nurse does is they put electrolytic fluid into your body to help you grow back to where you need to be. Dehydration is a significant issue in that situation. They're trying to get you back to a stable state so that you can begin healing. So what's the big deal? We mentioned a while ago that 60% of the body is water or electrolytic fluid. This information here is noted down at the bottom is where it comes from. This is not coming from Squincher or Kent. But just a 2% reduction in fluid, if I just drop down to 58%, my performance is impaired. I ask this question in personal a lot. I'll say, well, when am I going to start getting cramps? And I'll get answers like 10%, 15%. Well, that's not the case. Just a 4% reduction, and I begin to get cramps. 6% heat exhaustion, 8% hallucination, or what's commonly called syncope. I get dizzy. 10%, I'm close to heat stroke. So just going from 60% to 50%, I'm in very bad shape. Common symptoms of dehydration and why. The environment's going to change within the next week. We've kind of been blessed over the last month with the cooler weather and the rain. but it's going to be hot come next week. Physical activity, if you're on a construction site, all the contractors, whether industrial or commercial, have slowed over the past month. So people are going to be cracking the whip, for no other better way to put it, to get caught back up as it begins to dry out. Health conditions we've talked about and will continue to, and diet. So how do I know if I'm dehydrated? Dry skin to a certain point, however, on the Gulf Coast, that's rare just because of the humidity that we've got. May have a little bit of a headache, cramps that we've talked about. By the time I get a dry and sticky mouth, I'm already dehydrated. I'm in that 3 to 4% range. So just being thirsty is not a good way to tell if I'm dehydrated. Easiest and the best is to look at your urine when you go to the restroom. If you haven't gone to the restroom yet today, that's another indicator. We should be going to the restroom every few hours, and that color should be a light pale yellow. Again, 2 to 3% dehydration can result in a 20% decrease in energy levels, meaning I'm not as productive on my job. I'm not paying attention. If I got a headache and I'm tired, and anybody who's been dehydrated can think about this, whether I'm watching my kids or my grandkids' soccer game, or I'm working out in the yard on the weekend, and you think, you know, I'm just going to do this one more thing, and I'm not going to go in the house and get something to drink. That one more thing, it takes twice as long as it did when you started, because your energy levels are decreased, because you're dehydrated, because you're fatigued, because you're dehydrated. So I believe there's many instances, and I've talked to a number of safety people, where they've had a trip or a fall, or someone stepped off of a ladder or a curb and twisted an ankle. And I always ask this question, and most folks don't test for this. They'll have a drug test, but they won't check the color of the urine. If that urine was significantly yellow, a dark yellow, then that incident may well have been caused by not paying attention and or dehydration. So that's a situation where we could have helped that from happening just by maintaining proper hydration levels in our employees. This last one is something that's relatively new. We just pulled this out. A 3% reduction in hydration levels is comparable to a 0.08 blood alcohol content. So the last thing you're going to do is allow your employees to go to lunch and have, 2 beers or 2 cocktails and come back to work and drive a truck or drive a forklift or even be on the job, period. So why would we allow them to be dehydrated to the point of 3%, where I'm almost to the point of getting cramps, where I'm not paying attention and my reaction time is significantly slowed? This is how we check. Hydration level charts are available on our webpage. I'm happy to provide them as well. There's a number of different ways to get them, but it's a constant reminder. These are excellent to put in the cans that you see there, or in front of the urinals in the restrooms. I oftentimes say, when you go, take a look. Just look down. It seems kind of weird, but that's the easiest and the best way to determine hydration levels. You want a pale yellow. If it's a darker yellow, then you're beginning to get dehydrated. We're all here talking about safety and productivity. Productivity is important as well. So safe worker is a productive worker equals a hydrated worker. Again, dehydration lowers productivity. It also lowers reaction time. People aren't paying attention. Lastly, it's 100% preventable. All we have to do is make sure that the people are properly hydrated by providing water and electrolytes, either naturally or by a supplement. Again, factors of dehydration, diet, nutrition. Nobody eats right these days. The taco trucks pull up to the job site or outside of the facility. Alcohol not on the job, but alcohol last night. If you had your 2 or 3 cocktails last night or later in the week, or especially since we have a holiday coming up, Memorial Day, then Tuesday, almost everyone who had that alcohol is going to come to work dehydrated. So if they're already dehydrated, they're not feeling well, then opportunities for incidents are going to increase. Age, I'm getting there. The older you get, the more difficult it is to retain water and to retain fluids. Medications are also a very significant thing when we're talking about maintaining hydration and or absorbing fluids into our systems. High blood pressure meds are often diuretics if you just read the labels. This season, especially with all the rain that we've had, hay fever is going to be up, and so people are going to be taking antihistamines. Another situation where it's a diuretic. So it's not just the liquids that we consume like coffees and teas and alcohol that are diuretics, but also some of the medications that we take can be diuretics. Workplace factors, prolonged exposure in the sun or heat. That's where we need to talk about taking regular breaks inside in tents. I'll give a good example of, I won't say their name, but there's a company that distributes packages, let's just say. And they have a very large facility where these packages go in and out. They have 3 trailers that are refrigerated around the distribution center where people, when they get hot, they're required to go and cool off, get something to drink and cool down. So they're not exposed to the sun, but they are exposed to significant heat inside of the distribution center. So there's 3 easy places for people to go when they get hot. And they're also required on regular occasion to go into there and cool off and rehydrate. I mentioned a while ago the neglecting fluids because I got to get this job done. That's not going to help us get the job done. Workloads are going to increase over the next few weeks, especially in the construction market, because people are just going to have to catch up due to the last month that we've had. PPE, whether it's FR clothing, safety vests, anything that extra that I'm going to put on my body is going to limit the ability for perspiration to properly evaporate and cool down the body. Again, this is some problems that we run into. Dry mouth, if I've to the point of dry mouth and I'm dehydrated. Tachycardia, what that means is just my heart rate goes up. And my heart rate goes up because my body is trying to cool itself off by pumping more blood out and through. Hypotension is really something that has to do with the cold. If I'm dehydrated in the cold, then the opposite effect happens. My heart rate will go up because it's trying to warm my extremities, my toes and my fingers. And if my vessels are constricted because I'm dehydrated, then my toes and fingers become even colder. Heat index, 90 to 100 degrees we're gonna be there by the end of the week and early next week. We're probably gonna be in that 101 to 129 degrees when we're talking about humidity, relative humidity and temperature. Everybody's seen this, the feels like temperature. The feels like temperature is real. As the humidity goes up, it makes it feel hotter. And it also limits, again, I mentioned a while ago, it limits the ability of the perspiration on the skin to evaporate. That's the process that creates the cooling. Perspiration has to evaporate in order for it to cool down the body. If it's so humid that it does not evaporate, then we're just going to keep sweating. And it perpetuates. And I continue to keep sweating because there's no place for the perspiration to evaporate into the atmosphere. I'm gonna go through these in detail over the next few slides. Some warning signs and things to do to prevent. First one is heat rash. As we go out, we just start sweating. We've got PPE on, we've got heavy boots on. Heat rash is an issue. It's very, very uncomfortable. So the things to do that, change a shirt, maybe change clothes, change PPE at midday in any effort to keep the skin dry. And we got to tell our people, don't be walking around in wet clothing. That's going to cause heat rash. So, and it's an issue. It's definitely an issue with regards to areas where we have a lot of humidity, which is here on the Gulf Coast. Heat cramps, again, we're gonna go back to that 3 to 4% reduction, and I'm going to have heat cramps. Issue with heat cramps that oftentimes we don't think about. If I'm driving a forklift or I'm driving a piece of heavy equipment and my calf cramps up, then it's more difficult for me to properly apply pressure to either the accelerator or the brake, or maybe I miss and I accelerate when I should have been braking. Oftentimes not thought of. But one of the first places we get cramps is either going to be in our belly or in our calves, in our legs. So it can be a significant issue. We think about heat cramps. Well, that's not that big a deal. It really is. Oftentimes too, walking around on construction sites, you got to be careful where you're stepping. If I cramp up, then that's a problem, and that could become a trip or a fall hazard. Next one, heat syncope, fancy word for dizziness or fainting. If I'm dizzy, then I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. What we need to do here is get them into that cool area that I spoke of, whether it's a tent out of the sun in the shade or inside of a facility, maybe it's a break room, and get them to drink water and electrolytes, because we need to rehydrate the body. If I can get some ice in the body, that's even better. Here's where we're getting into some problems. Heat exhaustion. Heat exhaustion is not just for the day. It'll oftentimes last a week or two, depending upon age. I'm weak, I'm disoriented, I'm in a cranky mood, to tell you the truth. You can be sick to your stomach. It's possible that the employee can throw up in this situation. In that situation, I'm getting real close to that heat stroke. So heat exhaustion is a significant problem. People are just not paying attention because they feel miserable. Again, the treatment is cool down the body, get any of the wet clothes off of their body, drink plenty of cool water. OSHA's recommendation for cool water is 59 degrees. So that's cool, but not cold, and electrolytes. In essence, we've got to get our body back up to that 60%. And the last one, we don't want this to happen to anybody. Heat stroke. First thing to do if in the event of heat stroke is call 911. Typically the person is either very nauseous or vomiting, possibly could have passed out. To touch their skin, they've stopped sweating, and it feels like they have a very bad fever. Again, this says drink small amounts of water. I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to say do not give them anything to consume, because it's going to come right back up. Get any heavy clothing off of them. If you have ice packs or ice, then get the ice. Do not put it on their head. Put it on the major arteries, on the neck, underneath the arms, and between the legs. What we're trying to do is get the heart to cool down the core temperature of the body by pumping blood that's cooled. And those are the largest arteries that we have on our neck, underneath our arms, and between our legs. Assessments. If you haven't already done your assessment, please feel free to give me a shout. We can do an assessment of the workplace, or you can work with other folks. But what we're wanting to do is just pay attention to where the hot spots are. Where is the airflow coming through the facility? Maybe I need to increase ventilation and or fans. A lot of different things can be done to cool down the area. But and also, where's my water? How available is my water? I'll talk about another distribution type company. I asked the question of them, and they're a very large company. I said, how often or where are your water stations? The safety director said back to me, he said, every 30 seconds, which is the perfect answer. It's not, where are they placed within the facility? It's how quickly can people get water so they're not away from their workstation. They need to be able to readily assess water and electrolytes. So every 30 seconds was the perfect answer to that question. With regards to regulation, there is no regulatory, either state, in the state of Texas, Oklahoma, or Louisiana, I believe you mentioned, or federal regulation with regards to that. There are, however, federal recommendations. OSHA recommends that we do engineering controls, like I mentioned a while ago, with regards to fans, training, and workplace practices. As the heat goes up, increase the amount of breaks that people take throughout the day and where they take them. Force them to go inside of the break room instead of staying at their station. OSHA training, these on the left are required annually. You have to take, noise testing, fire extinguishers, all those things. OSHA does recommend that heat stress prevention training is taken annually. So it's a recommendation, but it's not a requirement. Again, assessing the workplace. This is a form that we use where we talk about where's the water, you know, what are the people doing, just kind of some basic questions, maybe some of them you don't think about. And I'm happy to assist with that. What kind of PPE are they wearing? You know, and then who's doing the training and who is receiving the training. Maybe it's just supervisors, maybe it's everyone. Just things that we need to know about. Okay. That's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Todd, we had some questions come in
Okay.
over email, and one of them was, do we alternate like water,
Good question.
water with the electrolytes? Do I just give my team all electrolytes in the summer, like Gatorade, which probably is a bad word with this webinar? So tell us what we should be doing between water and electrolytes.
Generally, let's use the bottle reference, because I'd said 6 to 8 bottles of water.
Okay.
And if it's hotter, let's choose 9, because that's the ratio that I'm going to use. If you follow OSHA's recommendation of 6 to 8 ounces every 15 to 20 minutes, and you go deeper into that recommendation, it says as the heat increases, then I need to add, they call it sports drinks. We're going to call them electrolytes, additives, okay? We recommend, based on what OSHA's vague recommendations are, that you should have a 3-to-1 ratio. So drink 2 bottles of water, 1 with electrolytes. 2 bottles of water, 1 with electrolytes. Over and over, I hear, you know, I'll get calls from people who've been consuming our product all day long on a Tuesday after Memorial Day, and the people are getting sick. That's too much electrolytes. We didn't dive deep into the sugar, but with so many people that have diabetes, a lot of the quote sports drinks, the one you mentioned a while ago, high in sugar. And we offer a product that's super high in sugar as well, because it has significant amount of electrolytes, but it also has just as much sugar as a Dr. Pepper or a Coke or a Pepsi or any kind of soda like that. So that's too much sugar. So I recommend twice the water to the electrolytes.
Okay, so you answered the second question, which was, what if we have diabetics on our team with the sugar? So you're saying
there's sugar in and of and by itself from an electrolyte. I'm going to use a fancy word. It creates a more osmotic solution in our system. So, and a little bit of sugar, if I'm not diabetic, is not necessarily a bad thing. Too much sugar is. A little bit of sugar, like the low sugar products that are out there, we offer one, some of the other guys offer one. For non-diabetics in a really hot environment is not necessarily bad. It's going to help from an absorption standpoint. It's going to give them a little bit of energy. But again, 10 to 15% of the people that you employ are going to have diabetes. The last thing we want to do is put them into a diabetic situation. So there are plenty of sugar-free options, and just talk a little bit about product. That's our #1 product, is our sugar-free options.
Okay, a question came in for landscaping crews, but this could be any crews. You have trucks, and they have one large container on one side of the truck. That's your electrolyte, and one's water. They mix it in the morning, but like the hot days, you know, that goes really quickly. What do you recommend that they do when they're mobile, like to keep their crews hydrated? They don't want them stopping, you know, at the quick store.
Well, maybe we're going to have to stop at the quick store and get some ice. So if you've got 2 5-gallon coolers, that's 10 gallons. That's enough for 10 guys. Gallon per person per day.
Okay.
So count your people, and if they're outside and doing like something similar, whether it's construction or yard maintenance, that kind of a deal, it's going to be hot, and they're going to perspire at least a gallon a day,
Okay.
So that's a good reference, say a gallon per day. If I've got 2 5-gallon coolers, that's only 10 gallons. That's only going to help 10 guys.
Okay. And then the last question that came in was about having people drink at night. And you touched on this. It's really not drinking during the day. It's what you consume the night before or the day before. So what should we tell our guys and girls to do, you know, the night before they come into work or the weekend?
if you just continue to follow that recommendation of 6 to 8 ounces every 15 to 20 minutes, call it a bottle of water an hour or equivalent thereof, taking into account that we're not having the cocktails in the evening or the beers. So for every one of those, you need to double down.
Oh, okay.
So, everybody talks about, okay, we went out the night before and they've got the Gatorade or the bottle of water next to the bed. Yes, that works. The reason that you got the headache from the alcohol is because your body is dehydrated.
Mm.
So you have to drink twice as much water and or electrolytes specifically because you'll be going to the restroom more often. You have to replenish what you've gone to the restroom, and that increases with the diuretics and alcohol.
Okay. Lee, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, Todd, I'd like to get your thoughts. I always try to tell people everyone's different, because of medication, age, physical conditioning, also after work activities. As you mentioned, some people may go home and sit on the couch. Some people may go home and take their kid to baseball practice and sweat more there than he did at work. And I used to get the feedback, well, I drank as much water as he did, but you two are two different people.
Correct.
Age, physical condition. So tell us your thoughts on that.
Oh, there's no question. Specifically with age, and I recognize it. I try and be active. I'm up to 32 ounces for the day. I try and pay attention to it. The older I get, just had a birthday, the older I get, the more difficult it is to stay hydrated. Even though I've cut out the Cokes and the Dr. Peppers and all that, I drink water throughout the day. I'll have my coffee in the morning, and the rest of the day it's water, water, water. And it's still just difficult. So used to be invincible, but now not so much. I also take, just using myself as an example, I take blood pressure medicine, which also affects the ability of the water to be absorbed into my system. So, weight can be an issue. Diabetes is another issue. All kinds of medications do different things to us. And for the most part in the United States, almost everybody's on some kind of medication. It doesn't necessarily have to be, it could be for cholesterol. It could be for any number of different things, whether your doctor has said, and almost all those medications have a disclaimer that says that it can cause dehydration along with other things. So yes, everybody is different. What we've given you here today, these are just guides based on, CDC, Mayo Clinic, et cetera.
Also, if you could address, we ran into a lot of problems with people coming to work and they would stop and get their energy drink because they're exhausted, or they stop to get 2 or 3 cups of coffee, and then they come to work already dehydrated. Can you discuss a little bit about that?
Yeah, again, I'll go back to one of the first few slides. 75% of the population is chronically dehydrated. It means they never get to that 60%. So we're walking around dehydrated. And that's the nature of what you just mentioned. Our habits are such that we don't sleep enough. We stay up too late. We get up and we caffeinate, or we Red Bull, or whatever our choice is to get us woken up, which is a diuretic in and of itself. Instead of first thing getting up and drinking, a glass of water before that cup of coffee. So it's a chronic situation in the United States. It's a change in habits that have to be done. We have to consume more water and less diuretics. So
I have one last question. Is it true coastal ice and water is the best water?
there's no question, especially when a little bit of squinchers added every third bottle.
He didn't even let me answer. He took care of that. Yes, absolutely. And, I just wanted to add too, part of what we're seeing, obviously, Todd just hit it on the head with everything, but when we touched a little bit on it at the beginning, when you go from this rainy, relatively cool, low humidity weather to what we're going to experience at the end of the week, it really takes everybody off guard. So hydration is key to safety is what we do. And even us, our customers who are every single day, day in and day out, do it all the time, are slapped in the face when that temperature dial, those 10 degrees and that humidity takes it off guard. So just really having a plan in place is so critical, because your workforce has to be hydrated. And like I said, just the temperature, what we will experience inevitably this week will just show how, oh, summer's here, it's arrived. We all know it's coming, but the heat takes you off guard. So having a plan in place is helpful.
Well, Lee, I hear you tell clients all the time that hydration is the prevention of losing people on your team. So do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, when people get dehydrated, they also affects their performance. Todd mentioned it earlier. It affects your thinking, your ability to work harder, your ability. It affects all parts of your body, and in turn affects your performance, and then in turn affects your safety. As a safety professional, coming off a 3-day weekend like we're about to come off of, Tuesday is going to be a really important day to get everybody back on track, to get everybody focused, to get everybody hydrated. A lot of these guys went fishing and partying for 3 days, and Tuesday is going to be a hot day, and getting them hydrated and getting them back to focusing on the work and safety, it's going to be a tough couple of days, Tuesday and Wednesday.
Agree.
Well, I think we're winding up here. We did have 2 giveaways, so I'm going to go ahead and give these away. Mark Scott, you won the hat from Coastal Ice, and Sherry Henry, you won this awesome cup. And I really don't want to give this up because this is a popular item. So I just want you to know you won the cup. Congratulations. And Mark, you won this awesome hat. I don't know if you can see it, but that's leather there. Again, very popular. My son has one. Baseball players are fighting him for it over here in Montgomery, Texas. So congratulations to you too. Thank you so much for Coastal Ice sponsoring. And Todd, tell us how we can get your electrolytes if we're interested in trying those out.
Coastal Ice. Call
You can come to me.
Okay,
Yes.
that's easy.
She's the distributor for Squencher, and so she's got all of our products, and we have a freezer promotion going on that she's well versed in.
Awesome.
And so she's your go-to.
We are here and ready to. Yes, yeah, we're here ready to put you guys a hydration plan in place.
Okay, so like we said earlier, I'm going to email out that collateral. Todd, you mentioned the urine colors. I have that from Monica. We're going to email that out to our clients so they have that. They can refer to your website. They'll have that on the information, as well as some notes that you've mentioned, some high level here. We'll have these recordings on YouTube. And if you guys have any questions, you know how to reach these experts. And we're so thankful for your time today.
Thank y'all so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great Memorial Day. Stay safe.
Yes, you too. And hydrated.
Yes, hydrated for sure.
All weekend.
Bye-bye.